Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video where today we're going to be checking out a track on behalf of Jacob Good as part of our custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. Sorry, I had an aneurysm because I thought that my green screen was this. I've been having issues with my green screen recently and it's made me very upset, but it's fixed now. But the video's all good. We're going to listen through this track from Rage Against the Machine titled Know Your Enemy from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. Let's go. It's an old school lyric video from like, when did this come out? Oh, 7 years ago? There used to be a lot of these in the 2000s. Oh, the groove on the drums with the bass. Oh, the swagger. Really interesting effect on the guitars from Tom Morello as well. And tempo shift. Oh, fantastic transition. Such a catchy guitar riff there. There's so much cool stuff going on with the guitar riffs and like the effects as well, like the bop, 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 bop at the start there, the tempo shift there with the smooth transition with the drums and bass, the vocals talking to you as we get you sort of hyped up to get into that part there for a fake out. It's dope, man. And the production on side as well. So is this about police brutality? Is that it? Excellent. It's visceral, isn't it? Ba-bum, 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 bum, ba-da. What I've got to say just before we continue, actually we'll continue. I mean, like we'll go ahead just to enjoy that in a moment. But just the guitar solo, I think it's very special, in part because of how it sounds. Like Tom Morello's guitar leads are distinctive. He's renowned for it, right? If it had just been a normal sort of like guitar lead tone, it still would have sounded quite cool, but it would have sounded almost a little bit like, yeah, no, I expect this to be sort of here, you know. But because he's using like a harmonizer on it, sort of like pitch shifter to make it sort of sound like a synthesizer there, especially with that the kind of sequencer kind of modulation that we had, like at the start with the slower kind of intro riff. You have that tied back in there and it loops the track together really neatly. It's a smart move there for the second half. The phrasing of it is really eloquent as well. It's also just fun to listen to. Like it kind of sits at like a you know, like it's just really well phrased as well. It's not an easy solo to play either. I think there might have been legato technique, but still, it's not an easy thing to do. But just, I mean, either way, that's honestly that's part of why Rage Against Machine stuff is so cool, is in part because of those guitar solos and the different sounds. Damn, it's chilling. That actually gave me goosebumps on my arm there, that end part there, all of which are American dreams. I adore it. I think there's just something so special about just how raw and unfiltered this track is vocally, but we're going to talk about this more in the conclusion. Because welcome to my review of this track from an act named Rage Against Machine titled Know Your Enemy. What do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone realizing that a lot of the stuff they got told growing up about like respecting government and authority and everything like that, when there have been evidence of them clearly, the government and police and stuff like that, and everyone like working against your best interests and trying to put you into a system where you kind of work against yourself and you kind of get stuck in place. And these American dreams that we have are things we aren't allowed to have. That's like propaganda, but in reality, a lot of us don't reach it, you know. And it's designed that way to give us hope only to take it away. That's kind of the impression I get from this track, from what the singer is sort of talking about. And the vocal performance itself is so intense and brutal and visceral. You get kind of like, at the start, they're kind of hyping you up, not like talking to you, and then they spit into it with the rap parts and the verse parts. And there's like the kind of crowd chants and like the sort of like rougher kind of vocals in the chorus part, like continuing throughout that. With parts that like and there's like little bits of like kind of just like sounds they're making as well to kind of be sort of more percussive with it and more sort of like noise like with it. It's very intense. You have this really sort of wonderful storytelling there, really fluid, and fluent. But it's also that not only do we rap well and sort of express ourselves well, we also know how to sort of behave. Like it doesn't feel like we are trying to be someone else. This just is ourselves, again, speaking our truth in a song there. And again, it's just they're clearly so upset and angry at the situation, and it comes through so authentically within the performance, and it's very believable, and that's part of why this track works. I think that sort of like savage kind of like that savage sort of truth-telling, it's what people need. And I think a lot of people are going to listen to this track and listen to the vocalist and completely sort of like empathize with that. I think it's honestly music that people needed even in the 90s when a lot of stuff was supposedly a lot better than it is now. We especially need it more than ever nowadays. So yeah, great vocalist there, very comfortable with their vocal technique there, very believable, and they put their heart and soul into it. And it was really, really well done. You know, you clearly understood on several levels what they were trying to tell you. I think that in addition to that, the actual structuring, the actual song itself is around 4 minutes 56, and it's really well layered. Like we have that intro section where things are a little bit slower. You've got that sort of slow sequencer there, and you kind of are gradually moving into that main motif there with those. There are several different guitar riffs in there, and they're all distinctive and they're all bangers. You know, like working with the drop tunings and stuff like that, and working with some chromatics as well for a bit of menace to it. The bass and drums are so tight-knit. I think the guitar tones with the synthy sort of like initiations as well as within the solo section are what also kind of pops off within it. The transitions between sections are seamless, even when we do sort of switch tempos, go like to a faster bit there. Even when we have that like solo section with the kind of drums kind of free flow, means you can clearly tell they were playing together in a studio and they're just incredibly tight. But ultimately, it's a track where the 5 minutes fly by and it's very satisfying. You're not sitting there looking at your watch. That's for sure. I think doing a few of the instruments I really appreciated. I thought the guitars were tremendously well handled. They're not just the lead sections with the interesting sort of like synthy kind of tone to the solo sections and stuff like that. But it was also just the fact that we had, again, the rhythm riffs there, working with those lower tunings there, and we could bow, 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 bow. They were very distinctive ideas and concepts that we had going on there, and I think that ultimately it was a piece where a lot of what made it work was how well it worked in regards to the drums. I thought the drums and guitar had a great sense of unison in certain parts, and I think that they were really tight, and clearly they could both play their instruments really well. It's just a situation where there was enough sort of like variety with the drums as well, with the various sort of cymbal sort of patterns there, where we kind of had enough with just the kick, snare, and crashes and hi-hats there up until that end of that solo section where we showed we could play with the fluidity of that sort of feel there with the retardando sort of feel towards the end of that solo there, going into that final hook there, or that final sort of like outro bit. But ultimately, we knew when to be there, when not to be there. We didn't overstep our boundaries. As a percussionist there, we pocketed when we needed to, and ultimately it was just really, they clearly understood what the song needed in regards to the intensity of it. It was loud when it needed to be, and there was a sense of intricacy with some of those 16th note patterns as well. The bass on the lower end had some shining moments, such as after the solo section with the guitar and drums, you just had this sort of it sort of reiterated onto that sort of verse motif there. And it was very effective because of the fact that it sounded almost as fuzzy as the guitars. It sounded heavy as hell. It sounded sort of like noxious, and it just niched really neatly with, again, the harmonic elements within the mix, whether it was the solo sections or like the verse and chorus parts or whatever. It was really well handled there, and it's also testament to the post-production as well. But like the track overall, if we combine the different elements, including the comments I made about like lead guitars and stuff like that, post and such, which had tremendous sort of creativity with the different sounds here with the sequences and harmonizers and such, the song almost sounds like the bluesy intonation suggests a moment of like sadness, but like the tenacity, the bombastic nature of the guitar, bass, and drums together with the vocal, the aggression within the vocal performance insinuates an overall displeasure and pissed offedness that I think is really refreshing, and it's organic and authentic. And we didn't get too down the dumps there. There was varying intensities there, going normal and halftime with percussion, stuff like that, with the guitar, bass, and vocals following along wherever. But it was also moments where there was just nothing happening. Like we just had all of which are American dreams there, and a free flow nature to the vocals in certain parts made it sort of feel more like poetry than anything else, which is, again, it's art. I think with the power chords there, the crump bluesy phrasings and stuff like that, it's someone just really regretting believing the stuff they did maybe when they were younger and really sort of like wanting to change things up and, not rob things, but like break into, not follow the rules and break them in order to get to where they need to be, because everything's just kind of bullshit. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is dope. The post-production is tight. The vocals are nice and present in the mix. Great tone to those. Guitar, bass, and drums, whether they're sort of filtered or affected or not, either way, they're great. There were no weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. Things are nicely balanced in the stereo field there. The sequences surround you in the headphones, like on the guitars, for example. The double tracking there. The bass is nice and thick and full there. It's commercial grade, clearly, They deserve to be getting label representation when they did. There was dynamic range though. Things did stop, and it was very, again, professional in that regard. There wasn't too overcompressed, but it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. And effectively, this is my review of this track from an X-Name Rage Against the Machine titled Know Your Enemy. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias, and I assume they're on YouTube, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spiderhands out.